Good morning, I'm Shelby Roberts. We begin this morning with a special report. A very active night for first responders across Peoria, from fires to shootings and break-ins. It was all hands on deck for local police officers, firefighters, and even state police. Now, as we speak, those officials continue to investigate more than a dozen active scenes across our communities. WMBD News has been following those acts of rebellion all night long. Our crews stationed throughout the city this morning to bring you the latest and last night's developments as many people head out to their places of work today. Let's turn now to Nick Molinari. You're live at Target in Normal this morning. Walk us through what's been happening in the Twin Cities.
Well, Shelby, an overnight confrontation turned violent last night and resulted in several stores in Bloomington-Normal being looted. Looters broke into the Target behind me, Normal Walmarts, and among several other stores. According to the Normal police, a couple hundred people exchanged words with officers outside the Target before throwing rocks and bottles at them. No serious injuries were reported, although several police vehicles were damaged. Sergeant Rick Bleichner with Normal Police said there were around 25 officers guarding the entrance of the Target, but eventually withdrew them to avoid further injuries. Right now, the Target is closed as they repair all the damages from overnight, and Bleichner adds that the looters last night were not involved in organizing of the peaceful protests. Right now, in Normal, I'm Nick Molinari.
And Nick, before you go, we see some of those boards that are up behind you. Are those cleanup crews at this time, or are those people just assessing damage? What's happening right now?
Yeah, so that's Paul Davis crews right now. They're repairing some of the broken glass that was here last night. I also saw some other community members out here with trash bags picking up trash, saying that they're just doing their part in helping rebuild the community.
Nick, thank you so much for that update. We'll continue to check in with you later. And to Nick's point, that peaceful protest that did happen over the weekend, that took place starting at the McLean County Sheriff's Office, we're told, and then continued to parts of downtown Bloomington before ending up in front of the Justice Center. And that's where law enforcement officials and elected officials, as well as community activists, they were calling for justice. This falls on the heels of the death of George Floyd. You might be familiar. That was the black man that was killed in Minneapolis. That's why these protests are stirring up at this time across the country, and here in central Illinois, different groups protesting in different ways. We turn now to our own Kimberly Eaton. She's been following all of this activity since it first started breaking out around midnight or so. Kim, walk us through what's happening at the Target here in Peoria.
Well, Shelby, I actually want to take you back to even before midnight. We were at this Target around 8:30 last night, just kind of seeing if police were preparing for anything to happen here, or the potential for anything to happen here. And cops were out in front of the store. They had the parking lot pretty well cleared out, and all was well. And we got back here at around 2:30 this morning. At that point, the doors of the Target had been shattered. This morning, you can see now they're just getting them finally boarded up, and police tell us that people were able to break through the doors. We don't know at this point if they stole anything, but we do know there was quite a bit of damage here, a lot of glass on the ground, and I think you're getting a look at the aftermath of that right now, because you can see just how many boards they've had to put up. The question now is, will this store open for business? And that's the question for a lot of stores around Peoria today. We're getting a look at the damage now that we're in daylight, but we're talking about hours of unrest and people circling back and hitting some of these stores twice. We were here at one point overnight and saw a few dozen cars come back through this parking lot. Unclear if they were potentially trying to hit the Target again, or if folks were maybe headed down toward the Best Buy, but police were able to kind of stop that at that point in time. But other stores, we were at Bremer Jewelry earlier. They had a lot of damage there, nothing stolen, but their windows broken out. We've seen it at Walmart. We've seen it at local beauty shops. And that's not all that police are dealing with today. We were at a couple scenes where there were reports of gunfire, possibly shootings overnight. We had a car crash involving a police officer, several fires that were set, cars that were lit on fire that we saw at one point. So there is a lot, not just to clean up, but kind of to wrap our minds around for police to investigate today. Again, we are still working to find out if some of these stores like this Target will open for business today. That's still unclear, but Shelby, as soon as we can bring you any more information, certainly we will.
And you're giving those employees some of their space in order to do their line of work, but very similar to Nick's. It seems like those cleanup efforts are beginning really before the day even starts for so many people, Kim.
Yeah, we saw employees here at about 6:30 this morning, and they were sweeping up glass. We've seen city workers come through and kind of check in and ask if they need anything. And then, of course, now the board's going up, and we've seen some glass companies there behind us, assuming they're trying to probably get this all repaired as soon as possible. Eugene Daniel earlier mentioning, you know, a lot of stores, not Target, but a lot of our local stores, really having the chance to just reopen in the last few days after being shut down during this pandemic. So this is kind of a 1-2 punch for a lot of these businesses. And at this point, it's still unclear if they're going to be able to open. And the other question after that is, are we going to see a repeat of some of this destruction and violence at any other point, possibly tonight or in the days to come?
We're still working to learn and hear from Peoria police officials as well as city officials about this, about what are the ramifications leading into tonight. Kimberly Eaton, thank you so much. Target in Peoria. Let's turn now and continue our team coverage with Janie Bowman. She's at Beauty Empire this morning in Peoria. Janie, we have been following the destruction that took place there. What's the latest that you can tell us from now that we've got daylight hours?
Hey, good morning, Shelby. You can see all of these windows here at Beauty Empire are totally boarded up. There's about 7 or 8 of these large panels of windows totally smashed. We have another one down the way that's only partially smashed. One of the sides of the windows totally smashed. You can see all of the glass here on the ground all over the place here as cleanup efforts are starting to begin. There's actually some contractors that showed up about 5 minutes ago or so. They've been assessing some of the damage here at Beauty Empire and also down at a Boost Mobile store right down the way. But you can see all of this damage here along the way. It's a lot to clean up and a lot that people have to do as the morning continues and we get a better look at what's happened here overnight. That's the update I have for you right now. But for now, I'll send it back to you, Shelby.
All right, Janie, thank you so much. And those cleaning crews, as they're working, have you been able to, I think we're got, oh, okay, Janie, for yourself, have you been able to see any of the owners or any employees as they've been working through, or is it mostly contractors that are navigating that?
Yeah, we haven't seen any employees or store owners. We haven't been able to talk to anyone who works here or owns the store here at Beauty Empire or that Boost Mobile down the way. But these contractors, it looks like they're mostly measuring things, trying to take measurements to see, you know, what more they need to cover up these stores and what kind of new windows they'll possibly have to order, things like that.
Janie, thank you so much for that update. A lot of businesses that are in this boat right now, as Kimberly Eaton mentioned, somewhat of a 1-2 punch, seeing that we're still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic and now some of these restless acts as communities across the city are working to navigate some of their frustrations. We'll be right back.